In the 60s, Eastside High School stood as one of the most successful schools in Paterson, New Jersey. Joe was a teacher beloved by his students for his unique blend of kindness, engaging lessons, and fun competitions. One morning, as his class thrived under his guidance, fellow teacher Frank interrupted, informing Joe that a union executive board meeting was being held without him. Furious, Joe stormed into the meeting, yelling at everyone for failing to support his reform ideas and for capitulating whenever the local government demanded silence. Tired of Joe's confrontations, the board decided to transfer him to another school, believing his methods were too disruptive. 20 years later, Eastside High had fallen into chaos, earning a reputation as a cauldron of violence. The once shining building had deteriorated, and students had no concept of proper behavior. Bullying and assaults occurred in every hallway. Teachers were often ignored or beaten, and illegal drugs and weapons circulated freely. Most students couldn't pass basic skill tests, alarming Mayor Botman, who feared state intervention would cost him the upcoming election. Superintendent Frank and school board attorney Mr. Rosenberg concluded the only solution was to bring Joe back, though Botman reluctantly approved, recognizing no alternative. Frank and Rosenberg approached Joe with an offer to return as principal, but Joe initially refused, accusing the mayor of caring more about his political survival than the students. Frank persuaded Joe by reminding him that he hadn't yet left his mark on the school and shouldn't take his passion and reforms to the grave. The next day, Joe arrived at Eastside High, ready to take control as principal. He immediately summoned the other teachers, asserting that he alone would speak in meetings, setting a tone of strict authority. Joe demanded a list of every student involved in criminal activities and instructed the custodian to clean the walls, requiring detention students to assist. Mr. Darnell, the English teacher, was demoted to assistant football coach. Guards were placed in the hallways to curb violence, and all teachers were told to focus on preparing students for standardized tests, as the school previously failed to achieve the required 75% approval rate. Joe called a school assembly, gathering all troublemakers on stage. During the assembly, Joe encountered Kenesha, a former elementary student who welcomed him warmly. He tried to command the attention of the troublemakers, but they ignored him, mocking his requests to sing the school song. Seeing them as incorrigible, Joe expelled all the disruptive students, assuring the rest that no one would bother them if they worked hard. Security escorted the expelled students off stage, calming the remaining students, and Joe warned them they could be next if they failed to focus on their studies. That afternoon, Joe met with the parents, including Leona, mother of one of the expelled students. Many parents sided with her, upset by the expulsions. Joe delivered a powerful speech about how a few bad apples could spoil the entire batch, explaining that expelling 300 students was necessary to protect the remaining 2,700. He framed his actions as a promise to God to save the school, earning the support of most parents, though Leona remained defiant. The next day, Joe encountered Sams, an expelled student, who tried to argue that the expulsions were unfair. Joe took him to the roof, confronting him about his cowardice and the dangers of illegal substances, offering a second chance only if Sams committed to improving. During lunch, Joe visited tables, listening to students and offering guidance. He praised Ray for wearing a suit, contrasting him with Sams and his friends, whom he publicly admonished for misbehavior, making them sing the school song as a disciplinary measure. Joe enforced strict rules regarding the school song, sending Darnell to the office for minor infractions. The students struggled with the lyrics, leading to detentions and a new requirement: everyone must be ready to sing on command or face consequences. Joe informed music teacher Elliot of the rule, but she argued that students needed to finish their Mozart practice for an upcoming New York concert. Joe fired her, canceled the concert, and placed Mrs. Powers in charge of music, prioritizing test preparation over performance. Darnell voiced his frustration at being treated disrespectfully, resulting in his suspension. Vice Principal Joan tried to reason with Joe, explaining that Darnell had value and staff morale was at risk, but Joe dismissed her concerns. The practice test day arrived, and students performed under strict supervision. Impatient for results, Joe sent Joan to the school board to retrieve them directly. One morning, a student presentation was interrupted by an attack in the cafeteria. An expelled student returned, wielding a knife, and assaulted Ray. Quickly, Joe intervened, and security revealed the student had likely been let in from inside. In response, Joe decided to lock and chain all school doors to prevent further incidents. Later, Joe found Kenesha distressed about her poor grades and unstable home life. He accompanied Joan to meet her mother, who admitted she had struggled as a teen mother and recently tried to clean up her life, considering child services for Kenesha. Joe promised to help improve her circumstances, ensuring Kenesha could focus on school while her mother regained stability. News of the locked doors reached the newspapers, giving Leona an opportunity to challenge Joe at the school board. Frank and Rosenberg defended him, but Botman struck a deal with Leona. She would support his campaign if Joe was removed. Botman and the fire chief planned to arrest Joe for violating the fire codes, but Rosenberg overheard and alerted Frank, who warned Joe. Joe devised a plan for the security guards to call a fake code, allowing teachers to temporarily remove the chains. Joan attempted to discuss the reading program's progress, but Joe insisted she handle it independently. Frustrated with his authoritarian approach, Joan requested a transfer, accusing Joe of egomania and mistreating staff. She declared the need for more support and respect for teachers, and no longer could work under his leadership. The next day, Joe granted her transfer papers and addressed the students, inspiring them to reject the school's bad reputation. Powers led the students in singing "Lean on Me," uniting the school and impressing the government inspectors. Joan, seeing the school's transformation, decided to stay. On test day, students approached the exam with newfound confidence, though Leona pushed Botman to authorize legal action. Meanwhile, Kenesha discovered she was pregnant, and her boyfriend denied responsibility. Joe assured her he would help find solutions, but their discussion was interrupted by the fire chief, Leona, and reporters. Joe called the code 10 to remove the chains, but the chief had a recording and arrested Joe for violating the fire code, leaving Joan in charge. That night, the school board convened, and Leona criticized Joe for the school's 33% test score. The meeting erupted when all students arrived, demanding Joe's release. Botman worried about public perception and spoke to Joe, who refused to instruct students to leave except for their safety. Outside, students verbally defended Joe, calling him a father figure and honoring his dedication. Joe reminded them to respect the law while waiting anxiously for results. Joan returned with excellent news. The school had passed the test. Joe defiantly dismissed Botman and the state, securing his position, and the students celebrated by singing the school song into the night. When graduation arrived, Joe personally awarded diplomas, offering tailored words of encouragement to each student, cementing his legacy as a principal who had transformed Eastside High from chaos to achievement and pride.